we're here as part of International Translation Day celebrations within the WordPress community for 2020. And I'm delighted to have in the studio with me 3 contributors to the Polyglots channel. We have Larissa, who is from Ecuador, who is a new contributor and only just joined as doing her first strings. We have Mahia, who is joining us from Mumbai in India and has been a polyglot for a number of years. And we have Naoko, who is joining us from Tokyo. And she's also one of the global mentors for the polyglots and a real inspiration to all of our polyglot community. So thank you everybody for joining us for this celebration. Naoko, I want to come to you first of all. Now, when people think of translation in the WordPress community, they automatically think of you. But what is your contributing journey? How did you start off being a polyglot?
My journey started back in 2003, actually, when I discovered WordPress online and I wanted to use it in Japanese. And I found other people who were translating it into Japanese. That was before WordPress was actually translatable from the core. And I got involved in the existing community of developers who are trying to make WordPress translatable. And I helped them communicate with the core team and also started translating documentation and helping people on forums.
So really, you've been in here for since the beginning of when polyglots really became an important part of WordPress. You also are a global mentor. What does that involve?
So yes, so I'm involved on and off, but nowadays I'm pretty active on the global level of WordPress translation. And as a global mentor, one of global mentors, I help other teams get involved, get started, and help solve any, for example, conflict or issues, technical or communication. In terms of just kind of being there as a mediator or supporter to help others.
So how many global mentors do we have in the project?
We have Toby, who is super active on reviewing PT requests, and we have Pascal, and then we have Dominic. He's also technical lead, and we've been having getting people involved from South America. We have Ali, and so it's really hard to count like exactly how many. We have people listed on the sidebar of P2 polyglots, and some are not as active at the moment, but yeah, we've been about maybe 5 of us pretty active around.
And just for people who are not familiar with the P2, it's the Make WordPress blog. So you'll find it on make.wordpress.org, and then you go to the Polyglots channel and you'll be able to read all about what the polyglots are doing. So thank you for sharing that with us, Naoko. I'm going to go over to Mahia. Mahia, you've been translating for a few years, and you actually went to translation from the marketing channel. And as part of 2020, obviously you're part of the organizing team for this event, but you've been very keen on getting some of the Indian communities to increase their translation and to understand what it means to have enough people to make that happen. So do you want to share a little bit about why you would like more people involved in translation in India?
Sure. One of the reasons I would like more people from India to be involved in translation is because I have met a few people who've said that they are using WordPress in their own language. So if we don't keep contributing and translating, we may not help the people who have this site currently built in their own languages. They may never update to the future versions. We will lose people. So just to help them maintain their sites and helping them in building the sites,
And encouraging them to do so. Yes, I can see how that would be valuable. I'm just going to bring Naoko in here for a minute. Naoko, I know as part of Translation Day mini events, we've been focusing on encouraging communities to translate the latest releases as well and to get up on that. Is it okay for a community to start with the most recent release, or do they need to go back to where the last release was translated?
So it depends on where we are in a course cycle. So right now, I would encourage everybody to translate the latest release, which is 5.5.1. And but as the next version comes up, maybe they should focus on the latest development. But we always have this. We always have development project, which is the latest version. We encourage people to translate. So yeah, I think people should just focus on what's available right now and what's coming, so that it's going to be most useful for people who are building WordPress sites.
And it's interesting, that's been the question that we've had throughout the week, is that we're so behind in translating. If we start translating where we are now, for example 4.5, it will be a long time before we get to 5.5.1, which is the current release number. But actually what you're saying is that you don't need to start back at where the last release was translated. You can start right up to the most recent one.
Yes,
which
yes.
I think is something that's not necessarily understood, and
Okay.
we can encourage people through this medium and other means to do that and understand that that's how they can get releases up to date as well. So thank you for that explanation. It's really helpful. Larissa, now you've also joined the Polyglots from being involved with the marketing team originally, and now being involved with translation. In fact, your first translation was actually for the marketing and for the onboarding project that we have on for the whole of the WordPress community. What made you decide to actually give it a go and become a polyglot and translate some strings?
So, well, you're exactly right. My first experience in the marketing team was actually polyglot adjacent because it involved translating. And it was a pretty straightforward process. And I thought that I could really, the fact that I was bilingual would really help me contribute. Yeah, I could add value to the team. And actually, I was inspired to actually become a polyglot and explore how to translate strings precisely because of WordPress Translation Week. I thought, why not give it a go? And what you were just asking Naoko right now about what release to focus on, that was exactly the first question I had. So the first question I asked myself was, well, where should I start? But it was such a straightforward process, and it doesn't surprise me that polyglots are one of the springboard teams into other teams, because it's very well documented. It's very well easy to get started. You can do it alone if you don't want to get super involved yet, but you can also do it as part of a team. And it's also actually inspired me to get in touch with people from my locale. I saw on the Make WordPress site, their names are listed. So I said, this is a perfect opportunity to use this translation to get closer to them and to get to know them.
Fantastic. So you found a new community at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
That's a great success story. And we look forward to you coming and hearing how you've got on next year. So that would be good. So coming to you, Mahir, I know when we've talked before, you said that there is a shortage of people who can actually validate strings in some of the communities that we've been working with in this last week. And a lot of the translations being worried about that. But actually that is fixable, and that we just need more volunteers. What are you telling communities that you're working with about how to encourage that?
I have reached out to a couple of GTs in different languages in India, and we're trying to work on whether we can try and have a monthly based event so that the work doesn't get piled up and just get approved just because a major event is happening, and also to try and get new people to contribute and see how we can increase the contribution level for different languages.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of doing it, and I know we're looking at how to do that as a regular quarter or something that could be done. Just to bring that question to Naoko. Naoko, in terms of if there's a backlog of validating strings, what is the advice that you would give to locales?
That's a good question, and I have a pretty big backlog also, and I guess it's a good idea to do it regularly. And we do that too. I join, actually, it's not myself, but Akira, who is also involved in Docs team. He runs a weekly translation, I guess, self translation hour, which he sometimes just do it alone, or I join and few people join, and he just does it regularly, and it does really affects very nicely on our productivity, because we are reminded every week, okay, this is the time, 1 hour, just do it. So I like the idea of here's a suggestion to encourage teams to have a regular hour. It doesn't have to be every week, but even
Yes, that's a
once a
wonderful
month.
idea. Maybe we can feature that as a case study in the, the write-ups. That'll be very good. So thank you for that. And in terms of GTEs in general, how does somebody become a GTE?
So GTE is someone who can approve of the translations, and so when a locale starts, which is a language and region. So, for example, Spanish, Ecuadorian Spanish is a locale, and when the language locale starts, we appoint the people who requested to form a team. So 2 people usually get appointed as GTE, and we encourage them to expand the role within the community. So whenever those GTEs approve other people to be effectively approving or producing translation on based on their quality expectation, then they'll be appointed by the local team to become GTE.
Fantastic. And GTEs, if you're not familiar with the term, is General Translation Editors. And you'll see their names if you go to a locale, and we'll be providing information and extra how you can do that and find your locale too. So thank you, Naoko. Larissa, when you first started going, you mentioned that you got to know people in your community. Was it a bit daunting to reach out and connect?
Yeah, yes, but the fact that I had something to bring us together, which were translations, made it much easier. So it was a shared experience, and I've only recently done it, so I'll have to update you on how it goes. But yes, definitely it made much more sense for me to reach out as a translator versus just coldly reaching out to someone and seeing what happens. So it was, but I think definitely that it was made easier. And like I mentioned, everything is so clear on the Polyglots website, on their section of the website, that you know exactly who to contact if you want to get in touch with them.
That's brilliant. And I think, again, the resources we're making it even more easy to find, and that will help the process too. So coming back to Naoko. Naoko, you've had a fantastic event in Tokyo this week. What were the highlights for you?
I like seeing new people get involved. So it was nice that some people did it for the first time, and they said they enjoyed it and they would try to continue doing it. So that was the highlights. And also, I think so. We also did a week-long celebration, kind of low-key, only just one Zoom call, and then everything else was on Slack. But I think it really helped everybody to join whenever is the best time for them. So yeah, I like the format this year.
Fantastic. And do you think that you've got a lot of new contributors who will come back?
I hope so. I hope so. We often do contributor day after WordCamp Tokyo and Osaka, and some people join for the first time, but they are saying it's sometimes hard after the event. They get lost or they lose interest. So I hope we can encourage them to stay connected through Slack. Definitely. And other means.
with one of the questions that we've had this week, which you may all have a view on, is that once you become a translator, it is quite hard sometimes to stay in touch again and to keep that momentum up. And some people have said that it can feel a bit boring, but I understand, Naoko, that actually now we have a big range of content that people can get involved with.
Yeah. I mentioned during my presentation, the amount of contents we need to translate is just increasing so much. And if you get bored with plugin or theme translation, you can always have lessons on learn WordPress.org translated, or documentation, or I think video translation is interesting. And anybody who's experienced in speaking, they can do voiceover or recreation of existing video. So yeah, it doesn't have to be just UI software translation. There's a lot of content to do translation on.
So I think it's fair to say you wouldn't get bored being a translator. If you come in and find out, there's always help and there's always things to do, which is great. Larissa, when you've joined originally, what are the kind of strings that you've been working on? And strings are, for the people who are not familiar with it, they're like sentences that relate to the text that's being translated.
So I have to confess, mine have been very basic UI ones, a couple of error messages, but I wanted to, that fit with what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to get started slowly. And I think that that highlights the fact that there's something for everyone, right? If you want to do something very basic, you can do it. If you want to get super involved in some more complex content, you can also do that.
And I think it's from beginner to very experienced.
Exactly.
And thank you, Larissa. Mahia, you've talked a bit before with Rahul, and you've been talking this campaign across India and elsewhere, that actually it's an opportunity for all ages. It's not just if you are currently working in tech, it's also for people who may have retired, and that people can get their parents and their grandparents involved. Do you want to share a bit more about that?
Yes, definitely. It's not only for the people who are working with WordPress or use WordPress to develop websites. It's for people who can translate a normal English language into their local. So the other day I was talking with my mom, and I asked her if she wants, if she would like to be a part of it, and she seems interested. I need to get her to understand the ways of doing it. But if other people besides tech people join up, I'm sure there are a lot of the languages we can contribute to.
That sounds perfect. So to my lovely panelists today, so Larissa, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think just to encourage anyone who's kind of been doubting or giving it a thought to take the plunge. It's simpler and easier than it looks, and you can meet some wonderful people.
That's a lovely message. Mahia, anything else you would like to add?
Get started. Give it 15 minutes. It's not that difficult. I am sure someone will be able to answer your queries.
Wonderful. I said, get started message. And Naoko, it's important that we bring it back to yourself. And what would you like people to take away, the one message that you would like them to remember after this week of WordPress translation celebration?
So what Mahir said kind of inspired me to share this message, which is I never knew what open source was before I got involved in WordPress. I didn't know anything about it. And I used PHP and HTML, but I didn't know anything about contributing to open source project. And WordPress opened the door for me. And translation was the easiest step to take. So whenever you involve your mom, she's contributing to open source and preserving the language and publishing in the language. So I think to keep that in our mind is going to be very encouraging, and we feel, we're contributing the betterment of the web. So I think it's a good reminder. Yeah, thank you.
That's wonderful. And thank you to all of you being part of WordPress Translation Week and pulling it all together. And we will hear more from you in the future. So thank you for joining the discussions today.
Thank you, Abha. Thank you so much.